Hi everyone, welcome to my session where today we're talking all things task cards and I have a lot of information for you. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how easy it is to print task cards from a PDF file that you create or purchase online so that you can easily print, cut, and get them ready to use in your classroom. I'm also going to give you the templates for 4 different types of task cards that I use in my classroom, templates that are completely editable for you to use. And I'm also going to show you how I organize my task cards so that it's kept the most efficient way in my classroom possible. It's good to go and I can reuse them year after year. So follow along with me. Okay, so one of my favorite task card activities to do in my classroom is to give my students puzzles. And the puzzles are actually really simple to come up with, really simple to assemble, and I'm going to show you exactly how to put it together. But the tricky part is making sure we print things appropriately and then make sure the answer key is on the back. So students can self-check and I don't have to go around and check in with every single set of students. They can simply put the puzzle together and in a quick flip, see if they got it right or not, and then move on to the next problem. So I'm going to show you a couple slides of a puzzle that I use for my rational exponents lesson. So here they have 49 to the 1/2 power, the square root of 49, and then 7. And obviously those 3 pieces would go together, and you can see each one of these puzzle piece sets is like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what it would look like to print this out so that this page with this next slide being the back get printed perfectly back to back so that the icons match up with the puzzle pieces. And students will know if they match all 3 pieces together and flip them over and see the set of icons on their page, then they know that they did the right thing. So first of all, I need to go into File, Print. Okay, I'm in my PDF file. I want to go ahead and print it. I'm going to print pages 4 through 7 from this file because it's a puzzle piece and then an answer key on the back, another set of puzzle pieces, and answer key on the back. And I'm going to make sure that I have selected print on both sides of paper. And I'm not going to select long edge for this type of puzzle. Instead, I'm going to select flip on short edge. Now, the reason for that is, look at what this puzzle piece looks like. You see 2 boxes and then 1 big box here. When that prints to the other page, notice 2 boxes and then 1 box. These need to line up exactly with these 2 here. Now, what's going to happen is actually the right-hand side of this page. So this box here will actually line up with these boxes here because when you print 2 pages with the shorter side being the flipping side, they end up folding like this. Okay? You don't want to print with the longer side being the flipping side because then the top of one page becomes the bottom on the other. It takes a little practice if you're unsure what I mean. All it really takes is to print something wrong the first time, which I've done before, and then you realize that things don't line up. I will always suggest to you, please make sure, print out a couple of test run copies before you make an incredible amount of copies. I've been there where I thought things were going to line up beautifully, and I wasted pages and pages of cardstock, and we all know cardstock can get really expensive, so we definitely don't want to do that. So I have selected the pages I want to print. It's going to flip on my short edge, and now I'm going to send it to the printer. So let's see what happens. I love when things get printed out. It's my favorite. So now you can see just the back. Sometimes my printer doesn't feel the cardstock. So when you're printing double-sided from home, what will generally happen with your regular printer, unless you have a fancy printer that prints front and back, is it'll print one side. So right now I've got like the answer key sides on the back, and then what I need to do is I need to simply just take the paper, flip it over, and run it right through the printer, go back to my laptop and press play to continue the printing. fresh printing the best. Sometimes my printer needs a little extra push with the cardstock because it's thicker. But what I'm so excited to show you is that this prints exactly the way I want it to. I have my puzzle pieces here. Notice there's 2 at the top. And then directly behind them are the markings. So it lines up absolutely perfectly. And now I have my second set. Let's laminate these babies now. Okay, so we're getting ready to laminate our puzzle cards because honestly, cards like this that I print out on good cardstock, still after they get trimmed around these corners, I really don't want them to get too messed up. I want to be able to print these. I want to be able to use them from class to class and actually use them from year to year. So in order to do that, laminating is pretty much the key for me. Now, unfortunately, my school doesn't have its own laminator, so I did purchase my own, but I'm pretty cheap when it comes to laminating. I bought the cheapest laminator, the Scotch brand. I think it cost me $15. And I buy my laminating sheets and I am not partial to any brand. So I would suggest if you can go on Amazon or find laminating sheets somewhere, never pay more than 10 cents a laminating sheets. So a pack of 100 shouldn't be more than 10 bucks. If you can follow that format, then you're gonna be getting pretty good laminating sheets. There's 3mm, which is what I usually buy. Those are the cheapest. But if you really want a really strong laminating sheet, 5mm is the way to go. But for all of my task cards, I don't even laminate them all. I just laminate my puzzle pieces because I know these get the most wear and tear at the edges. My regular task cards that are just a piece of paper cut into 4 pieces, which is what you've already seen in this video, those don't ever get laminated. They're kind of unnecessary. So I put my laminator on, it's warming up right now. While it's warming up, I wait for the light to show me that it's ready. Always make sure your laminator is ready because if it's not ready, the lamination could start to separate from your paper because it wasn't time enough yet and it wasn't hot enough yet. So I'm gonna take my 2 sets of puzzle pieces and I'm just gonna put them in my laminating sheet. You always wanna put it as close to the edge of the sheet as you possibly can. So there's one. Let me get my other so that I'm all ready to go. Okay, we're all set. Let's get these puppies through. There's no better feeling than sealing a piece of paper between 2 plastic sheets, knowing for eternity it's going to be used for teaching good math material. It's coming out. Now, usually what I do is as I see my first sheet is about to come out and be ready, I get my second one ready to go. And just tips for lamination, if you are laminating and you have some that are already done, while you're working, you may as well start cutting. So I do have a paper cutter. I absolutely love to use my paper cutter right now, just to kind of show you though some of these puzzle pieces, as I'm not gonna cut all of them out. I'm not gonna take that out right now. Cutting efficiently, I always just cut the outside edge off, okay? These puzzle pieces are awesome. I know they make such an impact in my classroom. I'm really excited to share them with you. There's nothing like putting a puzzle together and answering problems than the opposite of just answering the exact same problems on a worksheet that the kids are never gonna wanna look at again. It's good to use worksheets for like the learning process, taking notes, but you don't wanna give worksheets for just practice. All right, so I cut my puzzles out. My second one is done, so I'm gonna turn my laminator off, put her aside, we're good to go. And so this is what it looks like laminated, okay? My answer key on the back, noted out. These are what the individual puzzles look like. And now it's just gonna take me a little bit of time to cut out the puzzle piece. When you're prepping, making task cards for your classroom, it's always a good idea not to do it last minute. I've done that. Last minute prepping for task card use makes you sweat like you've never sweat before. We're all in that case last minute, but the last thing I would ever suggest you do is say, hey, I've got 10 minutes. Let me make some task cards before my next class comes in. You definitely want to save these activities for, after the time you've already had mapping them all out and planning them out. So I just took one of those puzzles and I cut it into the 3 pieces. So I have the rational exponent, I have the radical form, and I have my solution. And if I had these pieces all mixed in with these other pieces with me cutting them out, a student would put the puzzle together and then easily be able to flip over all 3 sides. And when they see that they have the exact same symbol on all 3 sides, they know they're correct. Now, at first, I would get a lot of questions from teachers about, well, hey, if you have the answer key on the back, are the students actually going to do the problems, or are they just gonna flip them all over? And what I always suggest is you explain to your students right from the beginning that yes, the answer key is on the back. And sometimes I have answer keys on the back that are full step-by-step detail. Like if we're solving an absolute value equation, I've got all the work there and then the final solution. So why would a student, do a puzzle when they can just see the answer? And so I take the novelty of the solution being on the back out immediately. I show my students, I explain to my students, I always reason with them. Yes, the reason why the answer key is on the back, so you know if you matched them up correctly, is so that as you are learning, you can associate right away, hey, I'm getting this correct, or hey, I'm making some mistakes and I need to go back and see where I can fix some things up, or maybe ask my teacher or a peer for help. It is not to just simply flip over, match them up, and then be done in 30 seconds. So once you really explain that and you explain what also the alternate is of doing, let's say, boring textbook work or just, drill worksheets, things like that, they pretty much will appreciate that you put together a good activity for them and they're learning, and you get to be the facilitator walking around, double checking, making sure everyone is good and not saying, yes, that's the right answer. No, that's not the right answer. Try again. You get to just enjoy seeing your students work. Now, you might give a student 4 puzzles to put together. You might put a huge amount of puzzles out. You could put a ton out for a partner group. You can say, you know what, I've got sets for individual students to work on. Put these puzzles together, see how you do. It could be a partner activity. You could have 20 of these puzzles out for a table of 4 and say, hey students, as a group of 4, let's go ahead and put them together. This is a great activity and it depends on, how rigorous the activity is or how rigorous the information is. A puzzle could take a couple of minutes, it could take 10 minutes. I have some puzzles that I'm gonna show you that have taken my students like a full 40-minute period, because when I give them that puzzle, we're still really learning about the information. They haven't mastered it yet, but the puzzle basically forces them to become a master of it. I'm going to show you some of my most commonly used versions of task cards that I use in my classroom. The one that you're looking at right now is the most basic. It's really just a full page with 4 problems. So dividing this out, and I'm going to show you how to use the templates that I've attached to this workshop. Dividing this out is super simple. It's just a line down the middle vertically and a line down the middle horizontally, and just problem, 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 problem. And something we have to just be careful of, and I'm going to show you in a later video, is how to make sure you print carefully so that the problem here on the right actually matches up with the answer over here on the left. So notice, if y equals -11 when x equals 6, find x when y equals 44, the problem on the right has to match up with the problem on the next page on the left. Because when you print task cards, you want the answer key to be directly on the back, and when you print that way, 2 pages like this, they need to be short side being the flipping side so that the front actually perfectly matches up. So this is the most basic. This is the alternative of me giving problems on a worksheet. Again, I generally try to give all of my practice in some kind of activity or game. I use worksheets, foldables for my notes, but I'd rather keep that for my instruction. I want my activities like task cards to be for the practice. So this would be the most basic type of task card you can make. Something a little bit more than this, instead of 4 problems to a page, would be something like my relations task card sort activity, where I actually set up tables, graphs, mappings, and domain and range in separate cards. And instead of 4 problems on a page, it's actually 8. I just simply divided each of the 4 into 2. So 2 tables, 2 tables. Now, this is a kind of card sort activity that's self-checking. So what will happen is each one of these tables gets printed double-sided so that one of these icons appears on the back. Now, those same icons are repeated on the backs of the next pages I'm going to show you. The graph pages map onto these graph images. The mapping images match onto the same clip art icons. And then the domain and range also match. So when these pages are printed perfectly and students are looking at all of the cards, I generally print each page on a different color. They're able to match the table to the mapping to the graph to the domain and range. And when they flip it over, if they see that all of their figures, let's say, have a heart on the back, they know they got it correct. So you can have 4 problems to a page, rather, like this. You can have 8 images to a page. You can also create a puzzle, which I'm going to show you in my next video, how I'm going to print these out, laminate them, and cut them up. For making these, this is a little bit more complicated. Instead, it's 3 kind of problems together in this puzzle that have to be matched up. But students will know that it's all correct because once it's printed, the icons on the back should all be the same with the other. So if a student matches up 49 to the 1/2 power with 7 with the square root of 49 and they flip them over, they'll see all of these hearts on the back and they'll know they did a good job. Another version of task cards that I use often in my classroom are puzzles in these square puzzle forms. So this is where this puzzle actually takes my students sometimes 40 minutes, an entire class period to complete. It is when we're finishing up factoring and we're factoring up difference of squares and perfect square trinomials. So this puzzle actually comes onto 2 pages. So this is the top portion. You can see the outside edges have no problems. And then the bottom here connects with the top of the next page. So it's actually 4 problems across and 6 problems tall. And they are simply matching the trinomial or the binomial with its result, with its factored form rather. This is the entire puzzle. I usually do not put any kind of answer key on the back. Instead, I will walk around the class with my answer key and I'll check on students that either need help or they think they've finished the puzzle. But these are definitely my go-to forms. I have other task cards that I have in more of like a keychain version. They're really just task cards that are long. You can always hole punch the corner of a task card, put a good binder ring. Let me show you a binder ring real quick. I love my binder rings. This is a monstrous one, but you can always hole punch task cards, put a binder ring through, students can flip through, answer, check the answer on the back, trade with a partner, and practice really well that way. So for part of this session, you are going to receive 4 of my task card templates that I've created so that you can learn to make your own task cards really easily just by following these simple tips and tricks. So the first one that I have for you is that quarter-sized page task card. Super simple, 4 problems on a page, and you're good to go. So here's what the first template looks like. It shows you on the first page what to type in for front of card 1. So let's say you had a worksheet and you said, I want to transfer this worksheet into task cards. Depending on how many task cards you want to make, how many problems you want to do, me personally, I would never give a set of task cards out that had less than 10 problems in them, depending on how, involved the problems actually are. A set of 10 to 20 is always a good set to have, depending on how much time you want to use as well. But it shows you exactly how to use this template. So you would go ahead and you would replace this text here with whatever you wanted. You could insert a picture, it doesn't matter. Put another problem for the front of card 2, front of card 3, front of card 4. I put numbers here for you. They're not the prettiest numbers. You can certainly change them to your own font, or you can take them out altogether. Sometimes I number my task cards solely because I want them to go in order from, the easiest to the hardest, or I want them to go in a particular order for a certain reason. But sometimes I take the numbers out no matter what. That way students don't have to worry about putting them back in order for my next class. They're just already good to go. But what I need to remind you again, and I know I keep making a big deal of this in every little snippet video that I'm adding to this session, is that whatever you do on the top of the left on the first page here actually goes on the right on the next page, because we always print pages with the shorter side being the flipping side. Now, I've had teachers come to me and say, I never print double-sided directly from my computer to the printer. I just print single-sided, and if I want something double-sided, I use the setting that's on the copy machine. And that's totally fine. And that'll work out fine here too. The only thing you have to be careful of is you want to take the second sheet, the sheet that's going to print on the back, and you need to rotate it 180 degrees. That way, when it prints, with the longer side being the flipping side, which is the default for a copy machine, it prints appropriately. Sometimes this can be a confusing task to do, but it's always something that you want to make a couple test runs for first before you print on a lot of good paper or cardstock. So I have this all laid out for you, the fronts, and then where you should put the answer to the back. The answer could be something super simple as just the answer, x equals 7. You could actually put all the text in for each step if you really wanted to. So this template gives you enough space for up to 12 cards. You can certainly just continue to copy and paste these slides and make more. The next card template that I want to show you is the one that actually has 8. This is the one where I showed you about the relations, matching up the table to the graph, the mapping, and then the domain and range. So I have this informational page here about ways you can use this, ways what to actually do with the paper, how to print. I also always strongly recommend that you save your PowerPoint files as a PDF and then print directly from a PDF file. Also, when you're printing from PDF file, if you ever have any image issues, always select the advanced setting that says print as image. So if you're printing and a special font doesn't show up or a graphic is getting cut off, usually if you select print as image, you'll never have any problems. Always select fit to page. When you are printing something out, always make sure it takes up the whole page. You don't want to have these random gaps along the margin of your page that you then have to cut out. I have the special note here, print double-sided with the shorter side being the flipping side, so answers are on the back. I would suggest printing any activity onto cardstock. I really wouldn't use task cards on just regular printer paper. It's not going to be as strong and it can get damaged pretty easily. Laminating is also great. You're going to see very soon that I am showing you how to laminate with these puzzle piece cards, which are good. And then save sets of activities and plastic baggies to reuse for the next year, which is what I'm going to show you in just a moment. So this one also gives you the blank template and shows you, hey, what you should put on each one of these. And then it tells you what the symbol on the back of each card is going to be. So it's going to say, hey, whatever you put on card 1 is going to have a lightning bolt on the back, because that's what's on this next page here. Whatever you put on the next card, card 2, will be whatever is the sun on the back, because that's what is here. I give you blank tables if you wanted to use them, blank graphs. You can add your own images on top of this, lines, points, whatever you would want, and then a blank mapping. Now, of course, you don't have to use these exact. You could take this, change out the words domain and range. You don't have to print any of these, but they're just options for you. You can mix and match, you can choose whatever pages, or even create your own. Another template that I'm giving you is the puzzle template. This puzzle template, I'm giving you these blank puzzles. Your job is simply just to add text in. Click your text box, add a text box in over something, put whatever you want, and then match them up. Pretty simple. I already have it so that the next page has those symbols there ready for you. They're silly symbols. You can always change them out as well, but at least it's a good starting point for you to make your own puzzles. The last one that I have for you in this set, where is it, is my square puzzle. This one, it's simply your option. If you want it to just be one page worth of puzzle, so a 3x4 grid, you could use both grids together and make one giant 12-piece puzzle, so it's 4 across by 6 down. That's completely up to you. You could even make it smaller, you could make it bigger. But here I'm giving you basically where you want to type in your question. So you would click on question, replace it with what you wanted, x plus 3 equals 9, and then simply type in your matching answer directly across from it. So directly across from it, you would type in x equals 6, and that would be simply how you would build your puzzle. Pretty simple. You can replace it with anything that you want. Sometimes I use the puzzles for vocabulary practice because it's really nice with definitions or examples or words along with that. But these are definitely my go-to puzzles for sure, my go-to task cards for sure, and you can do so many different things with them and put any topic that you want in them. So you created your task cards on the computer, you printed them double-sided, maybe you even laminated them. You now want to give them to your students. Well, the best way I would suggest you to organize your task cards in your classroom is to first have some kind of hanging file folder system. You can organize your task cards in many different ways, but I have found most success when I have a hanging file folder or one of those big milk crates, and I have a bunch of hanging file folders with my white little tabs ready for me to write on, and I take my task card pieces, let's say however many are in my set, and a little plastic baggie. What I usually do is I take whatever task cards I would have. Sometimes I paper clip them, sometimes I leave them loose like this. I just put them in a baggie. I maybe make about 15 sets. Usually I teach 30 students, up to 30 students. So I'll make 15 sets. And I will take all 15 sets and baggie each one individually so that it's really easy when it comes time to actually do the activity. I simply open up to my file folder where I would have all of my pieces, I pull out my sets, and then I go around and I drop off maybe one per partner of students, or maybe I split up the class in half, and one half gets one activity where I only need to give out like 7 or 8 kits, and then the other side gets another half, and then they simply switch places or switch the activities. And if they're in baggies, it's pretty easy to transfer them, plus they last a lot longer. I used to just paper clip my task card activities, but after a while the paper clip starts to bend the cards, and it didn't really work out the best way that I wanted to. But if you use a hanging file folder system, putting those baggies in here, labeling the tag and saying, okay, here's my lesson 7.3, my rational exponents puzzle, keeping yourself organized is the way to go. I actually use one milk crate, a full milk crate full of my task card activities for each marking period. So I've got 4 crates, 1 per marking period for algebra and geometry. So you can imagine that's a lot of activities, a lot of cards, but I've been using my same task cards for about 4 years now. I just continue to add new cards, make new ones, decide to switch out old task cards with a better activity or better problems. Sometimes when I'm planning on organizing my sets, or I figure out how many task cards I need to use, how much cardstock do I need to use, sometimes I even have to grab my calculator to figure it out. If there's 8 pages of cardstock, but I want to print out 15 sets, it can escalate pretty quickly. So you always want to make sure whatever activity you're making is so valuable and so worthy of all the time and energy you're going to put into creating this, because you know it's going to be the best experience for your students. But once you go ahead and create and you organize and store them the best you possibly can, you're in really good shape going forward. Plus, they're really easy to transport. So if you and a teacher friend wanted to create task cards together, it's as easy as lifting up the whole little carton, bringing it over to the teacher next door, swapping things out, and then you're good to go. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoy making task cards and you can use them in your classroom the best you possibly can. Thanks. Bye.